The discovery. The sandstorm that revealed humanity's greatest secret hadn't been predicted by any weather satellite. Dr. Amara Hassan stood at the edge of the newly exposed ruins, her heart pounding against her ribs as she studied the impossible geometry before her. The structure shouldn't have been there, not in the middle of the Sahara, and certainly not buried under 50 meters of sand that carbon dating would later reveal hadn't been disturbed for over 100,000 years. The dig site hummed with activity as her team worked to document everything before nightfall. The desert wind whispered across the excavation, carrying grains of sand that had kept this secret for millennia. Amara's fingers traced the strange symbols etched into the metallic surface, symbols that predated every known human civilization by tens of thousands of years. Professor Hassan, Raj, her graduate student, came running across the site, tablet computer clutched to his chest. The spectrographic analysis just came back. You're not going to believe this. Amara took the tablet, her hands trembling slightly as she scrolled through the data. The structure's composition included elements that didn't exist on the periodic table. This isn't possible, she whispered, but the evidence was irrefutable. That was when the first ship appeared in the sky. The Varsidian arrival wasn't the Hollywood spectacle humanity had imagined. No Independence Day destruction, no War of the Worlds terror. Just a quiet descent of geometric shapes that defied physics, landing with impossible grace around the major capitals of Earth. Their message was simple. We know what you have hidden. We have come to claim it. Within hours, Amara found herself rushed to a secure facility beneath the Pentagon, facing a panel of military and scientific leaders. General Diana Rodriguez, Joint Chiefs Chair, leaned forward across the conference table. Dr. Hassan, you're telling me these ruins suggest humanity once possessed technology that surpassed our current understanding of physics. Not just technology, Amara replied, projecting her findings onto the screen behind her. The symbols we've translated so far suggest something far more significant. They speak of an inherent power, something encoded into human consciousness itself, something our ancestors chose to lock away. The room erupted in skeptical murmurs, but they were silenced by the arrival of Dr. James Curry, the head of theoretical physics at CERN. She's right, he announced, striding into the room with his own data. We've been detecting quantum anomalies around human populations for decades. We thought they were equipment errors, but look at this. The display filled with graphs showing spikes of impossible energy emanating from human beings under extreme stress or emotion. Whatever these aliens are looking for, he continued, it's not a weapon or a device. It's us. We're the treasure they're seeking. The revelation was interrupted by a deafening alarm. On screens around the room, feeds showed Varsidian ships deploying what looked like massive scanning arrays over major cities. Panic began to spread as the aliens' true intentions became clear. They weren't here to negotiate. They're looking for activation signatures, Dr. Curry explained, his face pale. Any human who might be close to accessing whatever power we once had. General Rodriguez's phone buzzed with multiple messages. Her expression hardened as she read them. We've just lost contact with Beijing, Moscow, and London. Reports of mass abductions are coming in. They're taking people, specifically targeting those showing unusual brainwave patterns. Amara pulled up the final translation she'd completed before being evacuated from the dig site. There's something here about a failsafe, she said. Our ancestors didn't just lock this power away. They created a key. A key that would only work when humanity faced its greatest threat. The building shuddered as a Varsidian ship passed overhead, its scanning beam painting the Pentagon in otherworldly light. General Rodriguez made a decision that would alter the course of human history. Dr. Hassan, Dr. Curry, you have 24 hours. Find that key, because starting tomorrow, we're at war. As if in response to the general's words, the ancient symbols in Amara's data began to pulse with a faint light, and for a moment, just a moment, every human in the room felt something stir within them. Something old, something powerful, something that had been sleeping for 100,000 years. The treasure hunt had begun, but not for any physical artifact. The prize was humanity itself, and the race to unlock it would change everything. The only question was, could they awaken it before the Varsidians stripped it from them forever? The hidden truth. 2 months after the initial invasion, the underground command center beneath Mount Weather buzzed with a different kind of energy. Screens displayed real-time data from resistance cells worldwide, each one marking another small victory against the Varsidian occupiers. But for Marcus Wells, former quantum physicist turned resistance strategist, the most interesting data scrolled across his private terminal. "They're not just taking people randomly," he muttered, adding another point to his growing constellation of data. "There's a pattern to who they choose." Beside him, Dr. Amara Hassan nodded, her eyes red from countless sleepless nights studying the ancient symbols. "The translations suggest our ancestors knew this might happen. They left warnings about those who would harvest the spark." The command center's main door hissed open, admitting General Rodriguez and a group of haggard but determined survivors from the European resistance. Among them stood Nikolai Petrov, a Russian theoretical physicist who'd escaped the fall of Moscow with critical data. "The Varsidians made a mistake in St. Petersburg," Nikolai announced without preamble, throwing a data crystal onto the central holotable. "They tried to take a group of children. Something happened." The footage played out before them. A Varsidian harvester ship hovering over a school, its capture beam engaged. But as the children were lifted, one girl's terror transformed into something else. The video showed her body beginning to glow with an inner light. The beam flickered, failed, and for just a moment, every piece of Varsidian technology within a kilometer simply stopped. "Her name is Anya," Nikolai said softly. "She's 8 years old. And she did what all our weapons couldn't. She showed us they're not invincible." Marcus studied the readings from the incident. "It's like what happened in Lagos last week and in Buenos Aires before that. Humans under extreme stress are manifesting abilities we shouldn't have. The Varsidians aren't just taking random people. They're taking those who are closest to awakening." "But awakening what?" General Rodriguez demanded. "We've lost half the world's population to their harvesting. We need answers, not more mysteries." Amara stepped forward, projecting her latest translations. "I think I understand now. The symbols don't just tell a history. They're instructions. Our ancestors didn't lock away a weapon. They locked away part of what we are, our full potential. And they did it to hide us." "Hide us from what?" Marcus asked, though something in his expression suggested he already knew. "From the attention it would draw," Amara replied. "The ruins describe a time when humanity was more. We could shape reality through thought alone. But it made us visible to things that hunt such power. The Varsidians aren't the first to come looking for us. They're just the first to find us before we were ready to remember." A sudden commotion erupted from the communication station. "Sir, multiple contacts dropping out of FTL orbit. They're not Varsidian signatures." The room fell silent as new ships appeared on the strategic display. Their design was organic, flowing, utterly alien. And they were engaging the Varsidian fleet in orbit. "More hunters," Amara whispered, her fingers tracing the ancient warnings. "Just as the ruins predicted. Once one found us, others would follow." Marcus finished. He turned to the general. "We don't have time to unlock this gradually anymore. The only way humanity survives is if we force the awakening. All of us, all at once. The casualties," Rodriguez began, "will be fewer than if we do nothing," Marcus insisted. "Those children who've shown abilities, they're not accidents. They're proof that the potential is still there, in all of us. We just need to remember how to access it." Amara's translations pulsed on the screen, and for a moment, the strange symbols seemed to dance. "The key isn't physical," she said suddenly, understanding flooding her face. "It's emotional. Our ancestors locked this power away behind the one thing no other species could replicate, the unique way humans experience hope. Not blind optimism, but the defiant hope that makes us keep fighting even when we know we can't win. Above them, the new alien fleet engaged the Varsidians in a battle that lit up the sky like a new dawn. But in that underground bunker, humanity's survivors began to plan something far more incredible than mere resistance. Marcus looked at the assembled leaders, his eyes bright with possibility. We've been asking what humanity's greatest treasure is, but we've been asking the wrong question. The real question is, what happens when we finally remember how to use it? As if in answer, Anya stepped forward from behind Nikolai, her small hand raised. Around it, reality itself seemed to bend, responding to her will in ways that should have been impossible. And in that moment, every human in the room felt something stir in response, an echo of forgotten power, waiting to be reclaimed. The hidden truth wasn't that humanity possessed some ancient weapon. The truth was that humanity itself was the weapon, and it was finally time to remember why the stars once feared us. The underground. 6 months into the occupation, the global resistance have learned that the most secure communications network wasn't digital at all. It was human. Deep beneath the ruins of Tokyo, Rei Tanaka discovered she could project her thoughts across vast distances, connecting resistance cells through what she called the dreamweb. It wasn't telepathy, not exactly. It was something older, something that existed in the spaces between quantum particles. Another harvester ship just went down in Brazil, Rei announced to the assembled leaders, her eyes glowing with a faint inner light as she maintained connection with operatives worldwide. The awakened children are getting stronger, and they're teaching others. Marcus Wells stood before the holographic map showing humanity's progress. Red zones marked Varsidian control, blue marked liberated areas, and growing patches of gold showed where humans had begun manifesting abilities en masse. The gold was spreading. The Varsidians are getting desperate, General Rodriguez reported, gesturing to orbital footage. They're pulling back from major population centers, consolidating around their primary processing facilities, and they're not the only ones watching. The orbital feeds showed at least 5 different alien fleets now, locked in a complex dance of alliances and confrontations. The organic ships that had first arrived, now known to belong to a species called the Meridians, seemed to be protecting Earth from some of the newcomers while engaging in skirmishes with others. The Meridians sent another message, Amara Hassan said, stepping into the command center. Her work translating the ancient ruins had given her unique insight into the alien communications. They say they were like us once, before they chose a different path. They're not here to help us fight. They're here to ensure we have the chance to choose freely. Choose what? Marcus asked, though the answer was becoming clearer with each passing day. Before Amara could respond, a new presence entered their consciousness through the dreamweb. Anya, now recognized as one of the most powerful of the awakened, shared a vision that made everyone in the room catch their breath. Through her eyes, they saw reality as it truly was, layers upon layers of possibility, quantum strings vibrating in impossible harmonies, and they saw themselves as they truly were, not just flesh and blood, but complex patterns of energy and consciousness that could reach out and touch those strings. The choice, Amara translated, both from the Meridian message and the ancient texts, is whether to fully awaken and take our place among the cosmic powers, or to remain as we are. The Varsidians didn't come to steal a weapon. They came to prevent our ascension. They've seen it before, seen civilizations like ours transform into something beyond physical comprehension. The room erupted in discussion, but fell silent as Nikolai Petrov burst in, his face ashen. The Varsidians, they've changed tactics. They're not trying to harvest anymore. He swallowed hard. They're trying to trigger nuclear wars, environmental disasters. They'd rather see us destroy ourselves than complete the awakening. Through the dreamweb, they felt the ripple of fear and determination spread through resistance cells worldwide. But something else spread with it, understanding. Humans had always assumed enlightenment meant leaving their humanity behind. But the ancient ruins told a different story. Our ancestors hadn't locked away their power because it was dangerous, but because humanity wasn't ready to bear the responsibility it brought. We need to coordinate the awakening, Marcus said, his mind racing with possibilities. If enough of us transform at once, we can create a resonance that will help others follow. But if we do this wrong, the physical world might not survive the transition. Amara finished. The ruins say the last time humanity wielded this power, continents moved. Reality itself bent. General Rodriguez studied the tactical displays, her expression grim. How long do we have? A new alarm blared. Varsidian ships were moving into position around major fault lines, preparing to trigger earthquakes that would devastate Earth's population centers. Through the dreamweb, they felt the panic rising. But then, something remarkable happened. Anya reached out and took Ray's hand. Through their combined consciousness, a new possibility emerged. They didn't need to choose between humanity and transcendence. The very thing that made humans unique, their ability to hold contradictory truths and still function, meant they could be both. We don't ascend by leaving our humanity behind, Amara said, the ancient symbols suddenly clear as day. We ascend by embracing it fully. Our ancestors didn't lock this power away because they were afraid of it. They locked it away because humanity needed to learn compassion before power. They needed to understand loss before gain, love before strength. Through the dreamweb, they felt it beginning. All across the world, humans were reaching out to each other, not just with their minds but with their hearts. The gold zones on the map began to pulse with new energy as humanity remembered not just how to wield power, but why. The underground had served its purpose, not just as a resistance network, but as the cocoon from which a new humanity would emerge. The only question was, what would they become? The awakening. The day humanity changed forever began with a child's laughter. In the command center, now thrumming with energy that defied scientific explanation, Anya stood in a circle with 12 other awakened children. Their combined consciousness reached through the dreamweb, touching minds across the globe, showing others the way. It's like remembering something you never knew you forgot, Marcus Wells whispered, watching reality ripple around them. The air itself seemed to breathe with possibility as humans worldwide began to unlock abilities that transformed the very nature of existence. Through the dreamweb, they witnessed it all. In the ruins of Paris, resistance fighters learned to phase through solid matter, walking through Varsidian barriers as if they were mist. In the Amazon, indigenous tribes who had hidden from the invasion now rose into the air, their bodies glowing with ancestral power that had waited millennia to reawaken. The Varsidians are panicking, Rai reported, her consciousness spanning continents. They're deploying some kind of quantum weapon. They mean to shatter our reality rather than let us fully awaken. General Rodriguez's voice crackled through emergency channels. Multiple detonations detected in the upper atmosphere. They're trying to create a cascading breakdown of space-time itself. But something unexpected happened. As the quantum weapons activated, humans worldwide instinctively reached out, not with technology, but with consciousness itself. Reality bent, wavered, but did not break. Instead, it reshaped itself around humanity's collective will. Amara Hassan, surrounded by hovering fragments of the ancient texts, finally understood. This is why our ancestors hid our power. Not from the Varsidians, not from any external threat. They hid it until we could learn to wield it together. Unity through diversity, the one thing no other species had achieved. Through the dreamweb, they felt the meridian ships above broadcasting a single message. The choice is made. The circle completes. In orbit, the Varsidian quantum weapons imploded, transformed by human consciousness into something new. The very forces meant to destroy them became catalysts for transformation. Across Earth, golden light erupted from population centers as millions awakened simultaneously. But it wasn't a uniform awakening. Each human manifested differently, their gifts as unique as their personalities. Some could reshape matter, Others could heal with a touch. Some expanded their consciousness to encompass vast distances, while others learned to fold space and time. "They're retreating," Nikolai announced, monitoring the orbital feeds. "The Varsidian fleet. They're running." But Marcus saw something in the data that made his blood run cold. "They're not just retreating. They're going to try to quarantine our entire solar system. They mean to lock us away from the rest of the galaxy." Through the dreamweb came Anya's response, not in words, but in pure understanding. She showed them what humanity was becoming. Not just awakened individuals, but a networked consciousness that maintained individuality while achieving something greater than its parts. The Varsidian quarantine ships moved into position, preparing to generate a field that would isolate Earth from the rest of space. But they had underestimated what humanity had become. As the field began to form, every awakened human reached out simultaneously. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath. "We're not meant to be contained," Amara realized, reading the final translations as they wrote themselves in light before her. "Our ancestors knew that one day we would need to defend not just Earth, but existence itself. We're not the treasure that needs protecting. We're the guardians who were sleeping." Through the dreamweb, every human felt it. A calling that stretched beyond their solar system, beyond their dimension. Other realities, other planes of existence, all connected through the bridge humanity had created. They could feel other consciousnesses reaching out, awakening in response to their transformation. The Meridian ships broadcast one final message before departing. The Guardians return. The watch begins anew. As the golden light of transformation continued to spread across Earth, humanity stood on the brink of a new age. They had not just awakened their ancient power, they had transcended it, becoming something even their ancestors had not imagined possible. The question was no longer what humanity would become, but what they would choose to do with their newfound power. And through the dreamweb, their collective answer resonated with a force that shook the foundations of reality itself. The revolution. 1 year after the awakening, Earth had become something impossible, a planet that existed simultaneously in multiple dimensions, a nexus point where realities converge. The transformed humanity had not abandoned their world, but had instead elevated it, turning it into a beacon that shone across the cosmos. In what had once been the underground command center, now a crystalline chamber that pulsed with living light, the architects of humanity's transformation gathered for a historic moment. Through the dreamweb, billions watched and participated, their consciousness spanning not just space but dimensions. "We've confirmed contact with 16 other awakening species," Raya announced, her form shimming with quantum energy. "All of them hidden, all of them waiting, just like we were." The Varsidians didn't just fear us. They feared what we would become, the key to awakening others. Marcus Wells, his consciousness expanded to encompass vast fields of data, nodded. The ancient texts weren't just instructions for our awakening. They were part of a vast network, a message passed down through countless civilizations. We weren't just meant to wake up. We were meant to help others remember. Through the dimensional bridge humanity had created, they could sense other species beginning their own transformations. The Varsidians' worst fear had come to pass. Humanity had become a catalyst for universal awakening. Amara Hassan, now more energy than physical form, shared a vision through the dreamweb. "Look what we found in the spaces between spaces." The vision revealed vast networks of dormant consciousness, spanning galaxies. Other species waiting for the signal, waiting for proof that evolution beyond the physical was possible. The Varsidians, and those like them, General Rodriguez observed, her military expertise now encompassing strategic analysis across multiple dimensions. "They're not evil. They're afraid. They chose a different path. Technological advancement without spiritual or conscious evolution. They fear what they don't understand." Through the dreamweb came Anya's presence, now vastly expanded but still carrying that essential spark of childlike wonder that had helped trigger humanity's transformation. She showed them something remarkable. The Varsidians themselves had once been on the path to awakening, but had turned away out of fear. That's why they tried to stop us, Nikolai realized. We remind them of what they could have become. The chamber hummed with new energy as the Meridians made contact again, this time not as observers, but as equals. Their message resonated through the dimensional bridges. The time of isolation ends. The Great Awakening begins. Humanity had not just transformed themselves. They had shattered a cycle of fear that had kept countless species from achieving their full potential. Through the dreamweb, they could feel it. A cascade of awakenings spreading across the galaxy, each species finding its own unique path to transcendence. But with this revolutionary change came responsibility. Humanity had become something unprecedented. A species that could exist in multiple states simultaneously, maintaining their individual humanity, while also being part of a vast cosmic consciousness. We need to help them understand, Amara said, interpreting more of the ancient message network. Evolution isn't about leaving behind what you are. It's about becoming more fully yourself while connecting to something greater. Through the dimensional bridges, they established the first conscious coalition, a network of awakening species sharing wisdom, teaching each other, growing together. Earth became a nexus point, a place where physical and transcendent realities merge, where species could come to learn the art of awakening. The children, led by Anya, became the first teachers, their innocent wisdom helping others overcome their fears of transformation. The resistance fighters became guides, helping species understand that strength and compassion could coexist. The scientists, like Marcus and Nikolai, worked to bridge the gap between physical science and conscious evolution. As the final pieces of the ancient message network were decoded, humanity understood their true role in the cosmos. They weren't meant to be conquerors or rulers, but catalysts, the spark that would help the universe itself achieve consciousness. The revolution wasn't just about humanity's transformation. It was about breaking the cycle of fear that had kept the cosmos fragmented and isolated. Through the dreamweb, every human could feel it. The joy of countless species discovering their own potential, the wonder of consciousness expanding beyond all known boundaries. Earth became known across dimensions as the planet of awakening, where any being could come to learn, to remember, to transform. The treasure humanity had carried wasn't just power, it was the ability to help others find their own light. And in the spaces between spaces, in the quantum fields that connected all things, humanity's gift continued to spread, transforming not just their galaxy, but the very nature of existence itself. The revolution hadn't just changed humanity. It had changed everything. The story wasn't ending. It was, in many ways, just beginning.